get started. We can stay within their network for as long as we feel that we would, benefit from their support. They don't hold us to anything. It's just a matter of helping them cover some of their administrative costs, and helping, organize things. Because they have their prison up in Hopewell, I think it is, up near Hopewell, that does most of their greenhouse work. So they get that kind of stuff. The city of Trenton donates utility water for these spaces. We're trying to avoid that with the rain collection, try to keep it as honest and natural as possible. But when I calculated the water needs for this many beds and ran that past the county extension office, they came up with about the same number. And it was about, if we had to rely solely on utility water 50% of the time, Mother Nature's the other 50%, that it would really be about $150 for the growing season. So that's well within the budget of the memberships.
Right, so instead of having long rows where you have a lot of mishmash and stuff like this would be more intensive square foot running, so things are a little more tight, in a sense. Yeah, so the raised beds, it doesn't look like those crop lawns that we see out there a lot.
Yes, high density, the square foot method. Many of you are probably familiar with it, the high density gardening method that works very well, and it helps us to keep bed sizes relatively modest. And I've got all of Mr. Bartholomew's books that I'll be happy to share at the garden library.
Anybody else?
Okay.
I love the idea. I think it's very much needed in Morrisville. And I was also wondering if it could be a stepping stone to coordinating other events in the town to bring outsiders into Morrisville, such as garden tours. I was recently on the garden tour at the island in Trenton. Very informal, some feral gardens, wonderful. It was so enjoyable. And I thought, we could do that in this town. We have some beautiful gardens. And for years I've wondered why there wasn't a farmer's market somewhere in town. I work in Langhorne Borough. We have one in Langhorne, Lower Makefield, Doylestown. And maybe this could kind of encourage other activities and events, maybe native plant sales at one time of the year, and just kind of open up the town. I think Morrisville needs to bring people in from the outside to see what a great little town this is, and that just might be a door opener.
That's another thought that we had. It's in the more detailed presentation documentation. The idea was to run at least monthly workshops, and to, with such a large cement pad space there, we could host other, Morrisville functions. And my kind of dream in the back of my head was to link this online with other features in the borough. Some of these are, just kind of a small walk by and take a look. The millstone down at the south end of the park. We have Somerset. We have this beautiful statue down here at Bridge in Pennsylvania Avenue. And there's a number of other little historic, points, greystones up the road. People could come here, relax, use their smartphone, scan a little code, at the foot of the bush or the branch, and find out information immediately online. Take the garden tour, and then head off down the canal, and head over to Somerset, head over to the woods. Whichever kind of tour you're interested in. We have enough little features in town to be attractive and to keep people here, so they're going to buy lunch and maybe pick up dinner and sit and enjoy and buy a vacant property. Who knows, right? The idea is to bring everybody together again, like the pool used to have. Pool used to be. I wasn't here to take advantage of the pool, and by the time we got ready to go swimming, it was closed. But people have told me that that was a real center of the community. You could go see friends, hang out with family, and I would like this to be an inviting place like that.
when in previous presentations, Wayne said, of course, this would be locked at dusk and reopened at dawn, but it would be a shared usage, which is kind of what you were bringing up, Jane. There would be benches under the tree. There's quite an extensive tree area within the fencing. It would be a wonderful place for people just to go and sort of sit and watch the gardeners or watch the birds that come in, the butterflies that come in, and so forth. In fact, that is, I visited, after seeing Wayne's presentation the first time, I visited the community garden up in Lower Makefield, and I spoke to one of the gardeners who was there that day, and he started filling me in on all kinds of stuff about the bluebirds, and I actually saw bluebirds. I've never seen bluebirds before. They were nesting there, and it was a very interesting. And he says people just like to come and hang out here, and I think they will, and that'll bring people, like you were saying, man, to our town. And if you could also start a garden tour, that would be wonderful.
I just had the idea that the concession stand could be a cafe that would serve some sort of, locally grown or very, very locally grown.
If there was a concession stand there, it would be ideal for the community. The concession stand is a little outside the realm of my plan, but I'm in support of having something down there for refreshments. It's a very hot, sunny park, and across from the south end to the north end, you might want to drink.
Yeah.
So,
I think that particular building, from the beginning, council had no desire to tear that building down, to keep that, because of the facilities that are in it. It's the other two buildings that have no heat, and that
And that one has heat and electric, it was run as a concession stand. So we decided to use it as that again for any event. It's in the shade tree. There is some equipment still in there, so if you decided to use that for that, anytime you have an event, it's kind of a good idea. Maybe some food smoothies.
Yeah.
anything else?
anyone else from the audience have any other questions?
So please visit the website, because I know you'll have ideas, later tonight, tomorrow, over the week. And send an email. You can sign up to follow it, so you get an email alert when it gets updated. And let's use it as a discussion point. You can enter comments into there, and we'll keep it clean. And if that's all, I'll just leave you with one last thing. Kids who grow kale, eat kale.
Well, the reason I really like this idea is to take care of this thing it's the right use for the right space. There's many things that can be done that we all have good ideas for, but they don't require the fence. And so that's one piece that's really nice about this. The other idea is that it's a low-cost alternative with a shared use. So you've got the passive use, and then with an active use of doing the gardening. It provides all the other things that we want. It's a draw. It's community cohesion. It just brings people together, and it's of value. I just like all the different elements that it brings for everything that you want for an amenity in your park. This is providing it. It's something for everybody, for all activities, and that's why I think it's and it's just low cost, and it's ready to go. That's the other thing. And we've had 2 years to think about this, and everyone's had their hats on thinking about it, and now's the time to think about how we really make these things happen. We actually have a way of doing this, and maybe as we work on the comprehensive plan, maybe some of that could get folded into perhaps an open space grant, but that's down the line. At this point, we could really start rolling with this. Whenever
We need to grant for this at all.
no, we don't need the grant for this, so we could actually get started. There's no risk. What's the big risk here by moving forward on this? I just think it meets all our criteria.
Anyone else?
I think for me, just listening to some of the other residents that have small kids, and I love the garden idea. It's a great idea, but I know that it's fair without saying some of the other things that other people are mentioning. we can't be pleased to afford that today. Most municipalities can't. That, it wouldn't even meet code, it would cost a fortune to have to build something like that down there. The only thing even close to putting a water feature down there is a splash pad, which I saw at the PSCB conference 2 years ago. I did get a booklet on it and kept it. I researched some stuff on the weekend just to give information. I didn't have a chance to do all of it, and it might not be something everybody wants, but it is another idea. I looked up in PA, municipalities that actually have done it, and recently. And I really was amazed because I didn't know anything about them. And they're made environmentally safe too, with the fact that they recycle the water on them. It's less maintenance than a pool. You don't have the lifeguard. You usually have an attendant, who's usually the size you would probably have one that would be able to test the water facility if you did it as a recycled water. There's two ways from what I'm reading that you can do it, where the water gets recycled into this. I have pictures of it, 2 separate tanks, where just like a pool, it goes through a filtration system, comes back out, and then you don't have as much loss of water except for your dehydration when you have to hot weather. Or the other way it can be built is that it actually takes any of your plantings that are around in your area that need to be watered, and the water is then used for irrigation. So I'm not sure all the detail on that. We have to have somebody actually come out that would be able to explain it a lot better than me. But there is grant money from DNCR that is being used for a lot of these, and almost all the ones that I looked at in Pennsylvania, that's where they're pulling the grant money from. Most of the ones that I've seen will probably be bigger than the area that because you can build them any size, and you pick how many features that you would need for it, and that would determine the cost on it. I even pulled up information on rules and regulations on how some of the other municipalities set them up. Some charge fees as far as to cover that person that's going to be doing that attendance that's in there. There's also posted rules and regulations on what you have, just an idea of how they, because I don't know how they run. Most of them are fenced in smaller municipalities like ours, and most of them are also in part of a park. They're redoing their parks, and they're picking like a section of the park, and they're putting that in. A lot of them have seating areas around them. Like I said, and you can even go online. I've seen some videos of some of the ones here in PA that they've done, and it's been a big hit. Like I said, I don't know whether council would want to bring someone out from one of these companies. Vortex was the one that we got from the PSCB conference, and I had spoke to this Tara Eli from Carlisle. I guess is one of the people that works with the installations. A lot of the companies are using the Vortex, but there are several other ones that actually do it. Said I'm no rocket scientist on how this
In your
is.
folder tonight, there's something that our engineer sent us from Pottstown,
Yeah.
that they have.
Yes.
And,
And I just pass around, if anybody just wants to take a look at what they actually are. I only got the one book from PSAT. I said we have to have somebody actually come out and give us more information. But they're all over the country, but I wanted the ones here in PA, what ones actually were done in PA. This one here is from a Red Lion Borough. This is the most recent one that was done. And said this is actually an article that was written by their
that was the PSAB book, right?
yeah. And same thing, most of the communities contemplating a splash park of some type use DCNR Recreation and Park Advisor to help them with this, and that's where they got most of their grant money from. On the average, for ones that are bigger probably than the one we put in, they range anywhere from $175,000 to $200,000, and then most of it was covered by the grant. There was one for a good bit of it. Yeah, you have your maps.
I understand
it's difficult, but this is $385,000.
It depends on the size. Yeah,
Well,
it depends on
I
the
went to go
size.
see them.
I think the DCNR plans are right now.
Yeah.
So you still need you still need to come up with half.
Almost $200,000.
I just think there's enough space there for mean, I like the idea of a splash park. I've not been
Well,
fighting about that.
I have some actual definite objections to it, not because it's certainly fun, but, first of all, you have an annual maintenance cost, undetermined how much it is, but it's a new annual maintenance cost. You have equipment that fails, has to be kept up and replaced, another new expense. Third is, there's, in my mind, a very serious health question, sanitation question, using recycled water. I wouldn't want it splashed in my eyes or on my lips after it's been splashed over people's bodies and recycled and splashed up again. I don't see that as sanitary. I see it as a...
It's like Sesame Place.
I'm very familiar with filtration, but it's not, even chlorination doesn't instantly kill
You're
all.
right. However, you drink water that's filtered.
Oh, this won't be filtered like our municipal authority filters the water, that's what you... Well, anyway, those are my objections to
Wayne
it.
has a quick question when you're done.
I'm done.
Just a
That's
quick
my
comment.
objections to it.
It was about a half a dozen years ago, at a splash park in New York, 1,700 people were sickened by cryptosporidium. Cryptosporidium takes over a week to be destroyed in a chlorinated pool, and that's a pool that's tested twice a day. So, just as a heads-up caution, if there's some technology out there now to kind of beat that, then, I think it's a great fun idea, but it's a
Thanks for the
little
bright side
challenging.
of that.
It would seem to me that with something like that, your maintenance costs, you would have to, because that is a pretty high maintenance activity or structure, it would seem to me. So you'd have to make sure that any fees you got would cover that. And that just seems like, that was kind of what the pool had a problem with. They really were. Yeah.
If I could just explain this one that you have in your packet today, it's 300, what is it, 385? Yeah. It came from, like $150,000 of that money came from, it's the Pottstown Health and Wellness Foundation, which I don't know really what they do, but that was a lot of money that they contributed. And then the county grants, and then the borough put in $50,000, which is, minimal considering how much it is. But this particular pad, it's not a soft pad, it's all concrete, which I find kind of bizarre. That they
Yeah,
have-
I thought the same thing. They have different services, I was reading.
Yeah, I mean, right, so I'm just saying, this 385 was with a concrete base.
Yeah.
And it's minimal, small. I do like, it's not fenced in, and there's nobody that oversees it. There's no lifeguard, and there's nobody that oversees it.
They do say that somebody checks the water
But they have to.
daily.
That's
Yeah,
Make sure that it's
one
not-
I would
think so.
Dive
And that would have to be a licensed
Yes.
person that does test the
Well,
water.
it's like the
Certified.
person that would have to be doing the pool, it's the same thing, that
Just
person
like
has to be able to, right. And I remember watching them test the water even in our pool, that is something you have to do periodically, all day long, you can see to do that. That's gonna happen no matter where you're gonna be using water. So, and any of these splash pads have to be also looked at by the Board of Health. They come in and give certification for them to be put in and make sure they're maintained. It's not something you just really put in and then it's not being checked on.
No, and your engineer is involved very early on. I think there's space down there for both. But we also don't have the time nor the money to match to do anything like that this year. But I would say that we shouldn't dismiss this totally.
The DCNR, their grant application time is already closed for this year. It
Correct.
was April 14th, so it wouldn't, you're now going into the next
Could be
year.
till the beginning of next year.
With the extension that you have with any of the grant funds, also do the other parts like the south, we're trying to incorporate here at the same time, you have at least 2 more years, we can work on a plan for all that stuff too. It'd be nice to incorporate, like I said, the whole park and get all of those things, the walking trails. I think it's a beautiful idea for the south end. I try, or should we at least have, I don't know anything about it, so could we have somebody maybe come out and explain to the public exactly what it is? If it's something that everyone would
I would
want
like that.
to
I'd
look
like
at,
to
just to,
get us some bindings to see what our options are.
yeah, just so we know all the way around.
Here's a question. We keep these buildings, because we believe that they would fit the purpose for the garden.
For either one, yeah.
But say we come to a consensus and we want to put the water spray park further down, or further north, I should say. Right, further north on the space. No, I'm saying right in the space.
Oh.
There's enough space there, you can just go just a little further north.
I'm just saying,
There's plenty of
space.
What I'm saying is, now you moved it further down.
I say the
but your
building.
bathrooms- but your bathrooms are,
It's not an either or is all I'm saying.
I say the
There's no
building
reason
baseball
that you
field,
can't
that's just.
do-
That's right, that's true, yeah.
Only kidding.
I'm just saying that if we move it further north, okay, closer to where the lap pool used to be, okay, further, that's north.
Okay, okay. Go
Your
there.
bathrooms are now up south, like the state, so, you know, do they share the bathrooms with the garden folks? I mean, it just, it's operational, it's
It's a
just a
part of
question.
it.
Since the water lines
Yeah,
are up
that's what I'm saying.
towards that top area, and one of those pads is built up above the ground, you know, so you know that's being filled in, it's gonna be something that's gonna be built on that top there. Then couldn't we do the garden down on the other end, is where they have that one part, and even if we had to, is part of that, ours past that fence, where we could extend it out a little bit? So they
It's
would
all
have
ours.
The whole park's ours now.
Hold on.
Now that the pool doesn't own the pool.
So why can't we open a bigger area for them to
Right.
do the gardens?
Nancy, Wayne, now, if that splash park was implemented, all right, that water that's in the splash park, would that be acceptable for the garden to recirculate into the water collection system?
I don't believe it could.
Well, no, I mean,
We have a lot of
okay.
You have to clean it.
Right.
You heavily chlorinated
Probably require.
running
I'm not
water.
sure.
That's the only thing I would worry about, not having a recycled one. I said, water is a finite resource, and so we
Right,
really don't
well, I
wanna
mean,
just,
because-
and you don't really. But, you know, if you can't use that much more irrigation for water, then you're running in a lot of water to hold on to and stuff, so.
Is it something where the water's all constantly coming out, like?
Yeah.
Yeah,
While it's
they're
operating.
set up, you can set them up on timers, just a control panel that has timers on there.
You
and,
leave
uh,
it 10 minutes,
so-
but you-
Go ahead,
It's not
Wayne.
safe.
That water may be used, just not for the food crops. That could be used, most likely to,
Or-
for supporting the botanical gardens, that kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was thinking, you know, in terms of, we want to keep the food as safe as possible.
Right.
So, but for the botanical garden aspect, that recycled water or wastewater probably could be, you know, filtered for particulates and then, you know, spread out onto those other
Well,
plants.
that Red Lion Borough that I was looking into, they actually have a video that I had watched, and when they opened theirs up, and they didn't even have bathrooms facilities, or just at least rehab ours, they had, in their grant money, got enough to actually put a bathroom in there, and like a changing room, so it looks similar to ours, it had a little covered area that you could go in, and they had all these bushes and azaleas and plantings all the way around where they had decorated, and that water then was used for that. They put their splash pad in so that the water was used for that type of irrigation, for the grass, for that. And you mentioned something about their MMA, so I don't know whether they contributed part of that. I'm not really sure. I think they helped donate money also into those buildings, give them a bathroom there. But it wasn't a huge splash pad, it was a small one, had like ours, when I fenced an area around it. And I just thought it was a neat way to at least recycle that water or use it for irrigation so that you can also utilize it in that manner, so you're not wasting it. It's a lot less cost to run it, but we also like the garden too.
Well, certainly for the botanicals,
Yeah.
it would be, you know, an ideal source of water. We never basically run out of it during the summer season anyway.
Right.
And, you know, I know I thing in here. Already, the easiest way to solve that problem is to either shower before entering the water. But it mostly comes down
regulations, it was actually what the attendants took care of, it was posted, I mean, just like our pool was, you know,
Difficult to
babies.
enforce, but,
Right, right.
but that, you know, that's key, is, you know, clean in, clean out, so.
Right, right.
So we would be paying an attendant to watch this? That would be what we would be doing?
Well,
Well, the Potsdam does not, Potsdam doesn't.
The, you know, the pumping of water, by the way, is very expensive on electricity. Very expensive.
well, one of the parks you sold, to run.
Nice.
One of the parks actually you sold.
How many solar panels do they have?
I don't know.
I would think you would need, well, they need
High on
to,
mountain,
Probably up to 8 solar panels
Well,
to
see,
be
some
able
of
to
them are pretty
generate
simple.
actually a
You know,
pump
like
of
this
that
small
nature.
simple one.
Yeah.
Well,
and-
these-
well, we-
pumps of this size require hundreds of kilowatts, you know, to hundreds of watts to run them per hour. I'm just telling you, it's expensive to run big fountains, big pumps. It's very expensive electricity wise. That's something that you'd have to look
certainly
at.
we could look.
Hey, Bill, I think we need to form the idea you're not crazy.
I think it's gonna be very, very costly for the borough.
It is costly.
Installation, maintenance.
And designate
Potsdam-
area for now.
Potsdam's not even, it's not fenced in
Jan,
at all.
you could donate some.
I don't think you need a fence, you can turn it off at will.
I'll come volunteer
Yeah.
and a couple hours.
Pipes.
But aren't you gonna be drawing people from, this is like, this is the type of thing you see at Sesame Street, right? Or an amusement park. So people are gonna be saying, oh, why would we go to Sesame Place? We should go over to
I think
Morrisville.
it's a better atmosphere, smaller, more fancy.
But you're right,
Why
we
do
don't
we
put
think
it down there.
Well, if you want to go to Sesame Place.
But, you're right, it would be open to everybody.
Crowd, I would bring you
I mean,
that.
I'm sure this place could say
I
how
have
much,
my reason- I
you
have my
know,
reason.
a modest, you know, you're gonna go modest instead of trying to go fancy. How much does a modest size cost to run? I mean, that would be a really good question, and that's gonna tell you whether you're gonna afford it.
A modest what? Square, questioning?
Yeah, you know, they have some that's just a little sprinkler, and you're just running around,
Basically,
you know, which is,
Right.
you know, you don't need a whole big.
This one that's in your
Yeah, you
packet,
gotta
they
pour it
actually
in
have
everywhere.
water gushing out of it.
Put the solar pads on the
Building.
roof.
Oh, really? That's a little elaborate.
Well,
I'll
you
stay
don't-
in the building and throw it out my bucket. That's how
Yeah,
we're
it's
doing
just, it's brick buildings, and you have like 4 spots where it just comes, just comes out.
I was amazed at all the,
That would be
it
cheaper.
explains the 2 different types of filtration systems
Just
they have in there.
open
And,
it.
I
Open
said,
a
then when I
fire.
started actually looking it up and how
I never
many,
got sick though.
all over the US are doing it, but right in PA, because the fact that we're also utilizing those grants, and they are all getting them to put
And I'm
this
sure
in
we're not the only
as part of
municipality
the
that
park.
put out a pool. This one is.
Well, that's
it's a
just
four-foot
it.
spot.
Can't afford it.
Yeah, most of you, yeah, municipalities are not.
The
And that-
soft,
It looks like a.
the soft
Yeah, in fact, that was,
square thing.
Yeah.
misinformed, they said that was not.
I don't know, I think it's in the book what it is, but there is, I think, 3 different types of surfaces that they use. One, like those big huge ones, is almost like
Soft,
Sesame Place, they
soft.
do the concrete.
Soft surface, yeah.
Yeah, then there's a
It's
soft
gotta be
surface.
impervious, doesn't it? Maybe you couldn't have it.
No, it's not impervious.
No.
Well, you know,
It's
some
rubber.
you can use,
It's rubber.
have
Yeah.
rubber pavers, that are about, a little over an inch.
They said, for me, I would really like someone, a representative, actually come out to a meeting and
Yeah.
explain to me, because I'm only getting from what I got online as much as I could over the
You want
weekend.
operating and maintenance costs.
Yeah.
That's what we
Yeah.
want, we want to know about the money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, there's one of these books in the Borough Hall downstairs too, if anyone wants to take a look. I think there are
I
two.
like to see one. I'm sure if we contact them, they would send us some.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, this is who, I spoke up at,
At the conference.
yeah, Tara Eli from, there's a GEA, Eli Associates, Athletic Park and Playground Equipment. And they had a conference. And I was telling them about our pool, and at that time, we didn't know what was good with it.
We even had it then.
Yeah, and I said to her, can you give me information on it, and she gave me the book, and I said, well, I'll take it back, and who knows, so.
Would looking into this prevent us from moving forward on the gardens and everything like that?
When do you start, when are you gonna start digging?
We gotta fill a pool.
I'm curious to know what you're gonna plant.
I got a shovel out.
We don't have to watch your
When she
planting.
leaves here.
We don't want any, no, fly
What are you playing down there?
Yeah, somebody was gonna say that.
Somebody's gonna put it down there.
Somebody,
We are coming up with time to put in your fall crops.
Well, I think-
yeah, it doesn't prevent you from doing that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, maybe with the garden, if you decided you wanted to try and utilize both, could it be started on the lower area and where the actual pool area is, where you want to do the ADA ones, hold on till we find out what it would cost to put that area up there? Before you guys order?
Well, that makes sense, because, you wanna reverse it, I understand that. But if we really want the ADA, if we really want that garden, we need an ADA, number one. And number two, if we really want to have it, as a teaching location, we actually really need the concrete. And the only
So-
concrete is up at the top.
So we have to take those water lines and run them from that building down to that north end in order to put a pad down there, is what you're saying?
We're probably under, probably underground.
Yeah, there's actually a water fountain down north of the pool area already, right, Fred? Remember the water fountain over there? Yeah.
There's probably water down there somewhere already.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
there
not-
is over
you're not
near
stuck
the
in your
driveway
residence.
that goes back to the stage, I believe there's a water fountain over there.
Let's go down and take a look at that. Okay. So you're talking around on the other side of the fencing area? It's gonna be big enough, or?
I think within the pool fencing area, it's big enough, or the north end, where the old lap pool was.
Well, even if it isn't, there's, from the driveway that goes back to the stage, to the fencing is probably 40 to 50 feet, probably 80 or 100 feet long. That's a pretty big splash pad.
Yeah.
If you, that's considerable place.
Well, he means inside the fence, you don't mean the parking area, do you?
I don't,
He means
it's
outside.
grassy.
You say by that side.
No, I meant outside the fence.
Outside.
Oh, outside.
Yeah, there's a, yeah, but there's a pretty good area where you should.
utilized.
We have to call a lot of money, so.
Rush, don't worry about it.
Well, I'm not saying don't worry.
You know, the gardens are cheap,
Yeah.
I know, that's what I'm
and they're
saying.
easily disassembled in case they don't work out.
Absolutely.
And
Even the pad area could be reconverted if it suddenly committee says we want, get rid of the ADA gardens and so forth, we want to put in the splash pad there. But that's gonna be at least
It's not an aviary, so.
to get your
Aviary. Bluebird.
You should work on that project.
Bluebirds, you see them in my backyard.
I used to see bluebirds all the
What do you
time.
mean, you said Blue Jays or Blue
Blue
Birds?
jays.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
yes.
I do mean blue jays.
Yeah,
Birds of happiness, he's talking about bluebirds, real sweet bluebirds, Blue Jays.
Oh, okay.
It's a
Birds are happy.
Yeah, I know, they're nasty.
Yeah, nasty bird.
Blue Jays? Oh, yeah.
They're not very
One
happy.
owns our pond.
All right, so I think that there's a space, I see the space for both. Council will have to make the decision, and if we made the decision to fill the garden over, I think we need to move forward. I think we just need to do that.
Now, we have, when you look at the buildings, everybody loves the idea of repurposing them and
Right.
minding too, but I do think we should have a professional look at it.
I think Jim was due,
It'll cost $600.
to have a look at the building.
Just have
And
them
what you gonna tell
I
us?
mean, I keep hearing like.
Well, I can walk through for nothing, would you take my report?
No.
Just to
We
look at
need
it.
to know the conditions of
We
it.
did.
I mean,
We did.
we
I
really
thought
need
there
to
were
know, because this
levels
stuff,
of-
it's there, but
No,
it's.
they
Okay,
don't.
so
It
we're-
doesn't work that
No.
way.
The cinder block is
They go over
fine.
there and they count all the cracks.
I wasn't worried about, I was worried about the other stuff.
You can get a non-written report, which is valid,
Yeah.
from an engineer for about $600 or $700 a building. If you want one of these studies, then it's gonna
Well,
cost.
we don't need.
You don't need that, because I know what you're gonna put in there, I really don't.
I thought we
Talking
were
about the
all in
bathrooms?
agreement to keep the old Tony's O's.
Well, the concession you should have looked at, because you have gas lines coming in there, you have to
Yeah,
go
so-
over
And
there.
you have ductwork that's not even made out of metal in there, it's wood, which is.
That's not good.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying, you really want a professional.
And we have to get a new roof, that's without question.
The roof can be expensive.
That's why we need someone to.
So that's, yeah, but we, I mean, if we want to
But-
keep those two, we
need to
have to
know
get a new
a
roof.
real
Let me
bad.
ask, when it comes to those buildings, isn't that something that can be incorporated in the park improvements? Because you're putting a bathroom in?
Probably,
We
that would
can.
be very possible.
Yeah, right, with our grant we're going for the comprehensive plan, so
Yeah,
we incorporate a
yes.
bathroom in there.
I think.
Pat, do you have a question?
Well, I have some observation here that I know that is, before nobody ever wanted to listen to it. But you can contact the tech school.
Yes.
And who, you're talking about roofs. Other communities do it. Talk to the tech school. They need their kids to have
I
projects.
actually spoke to them.
And they're willing to do it. They've done terrific work down at Crystal Township, helping getting things done down there. You cut your costs way down, you get the thing. Now, I honestly think, I like the idea of the botanical garden, but eliminate the community garden. 95% of the people in this town are in single-family homes. If they want a garden in their backyard, they can have a garden. But you can, a botanical garden, which could be absolutely beautiful, that you could get people to come in here with a splash park. We never think of our children in this community. That pool was 90% with our kids down there. We need to give our kids something to do. A botanical garden will bring beautiful, bring adults into, give our kids something to do. This community never thinks of our children.
Pat, how can you really say that when every child here can join baseball, or they can go to Imagination Island?
That's right.
And that dominates.
Imagination
the park.
Island,
How
they get
can-
splintered to death if they'd like to, and baseball, and not all children play baseball.
But you just said, though, that we don't cater to the children. We heavily cater to the
No, we
children.
do not. No, we do not.
Well, I beg to differ with you on that.
70% of the people who belong to baseball do not even live in Morrisville.
And that 70% of the people that may visit the water park won't live in Morrisville.
But the thing is we're still providing something for our children.
But there's great, they can play basketball, tennis, they can run, they can tag. That's the idea. The idea is that you have a playground equipment, whatever happened to letting children run and have a good time?
You can all the playground equipment, the only thing is the Imagination Island. All other equipment has been removed from that park.
Well, there's certainly nothing that prevents additional, playground equipment here or there, or some, whatever you did, there's something that would do it, but the idea that we have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to entertain our children, when we've got a beautiful park that's just waiting for them. I don't know why we have to spend hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to do it. I don't know, we can give our kids a lot of things. Everything down there, a child can use, every single thing down there. Adults can use too, but we can't use it. Most of Williamson Park is baseball, and it's for children. So that park activities are dedicated to children now. So that we can't say that we don't take care of our kids.
I also like the idea of a community park, or community garden rather, because I don't know anything about gardening. All of you things that you people all say, I don't understand any of it. So I like the idea of going down there and learning,
Well, you can be the first
being a little
one.
bit of a creeper maybe, and watching people and saying, what are you doing? Like, how do I do that? And then like being able to teach me like right next to them. Because if they say, oh, do this at your house, I'll be like, I'll do it and it'll die in a day. So I just like the idea of pursuing.
You have apartment dwellers in Morrisville. Now, you have people in the Presbyterian towers. They may be over 55, but they still would like to garden, and where they are, they can't. So I think that would be a good
They do
opportunity.
have community gardens in their parks.
Yeah, and the Towers has a garden.
They do have community gardens, but.
Robert Morris has a
Robert
garden.
Morris has community gardens, and the Towers have community
Yeah.
gardens.
But that doesn't
Community
preclude us
garden's
from having
okay.
another one.
It's not a big expense. It's not a big outlay.
If I could ask Bill too, you did a nice presentation with Debbie when we were here the first time about the comprehensive plan, and a lot of these people aren't here. Could you maybe explain to them the South End and some of the things you also want to incorporate, that it's not just the garden and a water splash area, that some of the things that you also wanted to do
Sure,
with the whole park?
sure. Let me just go over here.
Did you bring your,
Oh, good.
I really wasn't expecting to talk about a comprehensive plan for the park, but.
Wayne is leaving, but he encourages you to check out the website.
Thank you, Wayne.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Wayne, and by all means, check out the website. It has so much detail, it's unbelievable. I wish my project was as well thought out as his. Huh?
Too small.
What is?
They can't see that back.
Well, I'm gonna walk it over to them, and then here, I'll walk it right up to you so you can see it. This, folks, is a Williamson Park usage chart, and what you see in the bright red are all baseball fields, okay? So my guess would be that's at least 50%. The black is asphalt for parking, so between those two usages, you have, it's mostly dominated by baseball and parking. This is where they had tennis and basketball, which we believe the EAC is going to assist the Borough Council as best we can in coming up with a comprehensive plan that will allow us to use some of our open space money from the county to make our park even nicer. And unfortunately, the deadline for that has been extended, so we have some time to work on this instead of just like make a slapdash decision. But hopefully the basketball courts and the tennis courts could be, we could get some new nets or whatever so kids can at least do a different sport other than just baseball. The green parts are steep slopes that can't be used. There's only a couple areas that can still be used. The pool area, this is already grassy and green, and this is where the stage is and the pavilion. And then down here is the southern end, which has totally been neglected, never used. And I'll show you in a minute, we actually have a sketch concept for that. But one of our main ideas, if we can pull this off and use open space money with some matching money, is to create a trail system that goes throughout the park so that people would be able to have a walking program or just, you know, if they just enjoy strolling. But these days, people like to have a measured walking program. If their doctor says, walk a half a mile a day, you know you walked a half a mile a day. I go by the Playwicki Farm, which is an open space preservation place in Lower Southampton. They have an awesome trail. It's probably a mile long. I always see people walking from, I'm just driving by, and there's always people walking on the trail.
That place is always packed.
Yeah, but I mean, just the walking, and I think, boy, it's awfully hot out there. I'm glad I'm in my air-conditioned car. But people, that's a thing that we need, and it's a great thing, you know, to walk. So our trail concept would be, it would have some markers here and there to show you how far you've walked. I'm told that Falls Township has the same thing with markers, so you know you went a quarter mile or an eighth of a mile or whatever. So that would be our starting point for a comprehensive plan, is just to get some kind of measured trail thing through here. Lots of benches, okay, depending on where you want to sit. And lots of bicycle racks. People need bicycle racks. We should encourage, I mean, cycling is up and coming. We want to encourage them to come to the park, have a safe place to lock it up. Not one here, and then you walk down here and you come back and it's been stolen. All around so that you can see your bicycle while you're doing something else. And hopefully that's something we could have in our comprehensive plan. And I was suggesting if we were going to include a water splash pad, if it were economically feasible, and that's what people want, whether I like it or not, it's not the, you know, I'm just one person, but, you know, a splash pad here or anywhere, there's lots of other places maybe we could fit one in also. I'm not, you know, I'm not against the public, the will of the people. If they want a splash pad, I guess that's what we'll have. But I'm real impressed by the community garden. I think as Wayne pointed out, it builds community. People go there, like Corinne said, and they actually enjoy talking to the other gardeners and getting tips and helping them or getting free food. I'll give you some of mine if you give me some of yours. And as this lady said, it could bring people in. And as Jane said, as far as just something that you said reminded me, is there would be lots of shared usage for people to come in here and just enjoy the ambiance of the flowers, the gardens, and the trees. This is one of our nicely treed areas right here. So our idea is, again, to use open space money to upgrade our park, which good parks actually raise the value of homes in a town. The closer you are, the better the value you'll get from that. But even way up here, you'll get value from a good park. We haven't done much for our park in a long time, except take things out.
So yeah, everybody always talks about how the bridge always brings in bad traffic. I know there's lots of telephone poles and there's structures and buildings. Is it possible to use grant money to put up video cameras to make the park safer?
I I'm not familiar with that, those type of grants, but there might be. It's something somebody could look into. Oh, no, I don't think the open space, the county open space money, the concept of the county open space money originally, when it was started years and years ago, over 15 years ago, was for communities to acquire new land, okay? Not to buy benches and that sort of thing. But because Morrisville and a lot of other boroughs and small communities are all built out and there's no land to acquire, now they've like flexed a little and they'll let you do improvements to your park. But they won't let you demolish buildings with Bucks County open space money, and they won't, but they will let you use a demolition. If we were to demolish anything, they might let us use some of those costs as a match towards the money they give us to do improvements. But even the improvements are very, you have to run it by a review board long before it's approved. And I've been at review boards